Good morning, everyone. Dr. Reddick here with another 5-minute leadership coaching. So I want to get back to a basic concept, something that I talk about fairly regularly with my coaching clients, and that is the idea of actually scheduling your stuff that we don't normally schedule, actually blocking off your calendar to spend time strategically thinking or planning. And that can be planning at your departmental level or your career level or your week level, productivity, whatever, just spending some time thinking. So I have conversations frequently. I'll talk to a leader and I'll say, hey, what's the most productive use of your time? Or what's the most not productive, impactful use of your time? And they will say, strategic thinking about my department, or strategic thinking about my organization, my company, what are we going to do, spending time planning, spending time thinking about hiring, actually getting a few moments to stop and think rather than react. And so I'll say, how much time do you get to do that? I'm like, oh, I'm so busy. I can never find the time to do that. Never find the time. The time's not going to appear. It's not going to magically show up in your calendar. There's always going to be more work to do than you can do. And yet you're choosing to not schedule the most important thing you could be doing, the most impactful thing you could be doing. Does that make sense? So, and this really goes back to, if you look at 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, if you've read that, Covey leads people through an exercise with rocks and sand and gravel, sand, water. And he takes a glass cylinder. I actually got to see Covey do this live in DC decades ago. A large glass cylinder, puts all the big rocks in, yells out to the audience, is it full? Audience initially says yes. And then he pulls out another bucket full of smaller stones, pebbles, pours it in, and fills it up to the top. Is the bucket full now, or is the cylinder full now? Maybe half of them are catching on, but there's still some yeses. Then he pulls out some sand, pours the sand in till it's full to the top, packs it down. Is it full now? And then he says, he pours out water, and he slowly pours water in, and is able to fill a bucket, or dump an entire bucket full of water. And Covey says, what's the lesson? And someone will always say, you can always fit more stuff in. And he says, no. The lesson is, if I had put the water in first, would have I ever got the big rocks in? The big rocks represent those impactful things, and the cylinder represents your calendar. You have 168 hours in your week, just like I do. Time is the great equalizer. If you don't take the big rocks, and that big rock is thinking strategically, and put it on your calendar to block out all the busyness, all the day-to-day activities, all the less impactful things will fill up your calendar, and you won't have a moment for strategic thinking. So, once convincing someone that they should do this, one of my clients that they should do this, they inevitably say, I'm going to block out half a day. And I say, no, you won't. Or I'm going to block out an hour every day. I'm like, no, you won't. Block out 15 minutes. Block out 15 minutes at the beginning of your day to just think. Or at the end of the day, or when you get back from lunch, a consistent 15 minutes. And they'll say, no, 15 minutes isn't enough time. And so I let them go, and they'll block out an hour, block out half a day or whatever, come back the next week, which this is a lot of what a leadership coach does, and say, hey, how'd that half a day of strategic thinking go? And go. And they will say, yeah, I couldn't get to it. We had some meetings pop up, and this happened, this emergency thing happened, and I say, that's why I said, not half a day, not an hour, 15 minutes. An hour can get interrupted. You can set aside 15 minutes. So I encourage you to set aside 15 minutes, block off 15 minutes as a recurring meeting on your calendar, and say, hey, this is time, this is sacrosanct time, untouchable time for me to think strategically about the direction of my team and my department. Thanks, and I'll talk to you soon.